I'm going to go over the terms and conditions of tonight's sale, and then I'm going to talk about the farm that we're selling. First of all, I want to introduce myself and my team. I'm Devin Dye, broker and owner auctioneer here at Dye Real Estate and Land Company. To my right is Mr. Mike Reindl. He's one of our auctioneers and real estate agents. He'll be ringing tonight. And to my left is Matt Bowers. He's also one of our auctioneers and real estate agents. Dave Worwell is running the computer system. Jaylene and Jessica are the two that checked you in, and my mom and dad, they're the one that feed us for the auctions here. So I also want to say thank you to Annette Oak for choosing us to represent her in the sale of tonight's farm. That's a big decision, and we really want to thank her for that. She is not able to make it in person, but she is online viewing the sale. Tonight's auction does sell with seller's confirmation. So at some point I'll take a break, I'll go out, have a conversation with the seller, and then we'll come back in and provide that confirmation. So I'm going to go ahead and read through the terms and conditions of tonight's sale. They're right here in front or inside the first page here on your bidder packet. You can follow along. Tonight's sales method, the property will be offered in one tract. There'll be open bidding on the individual tract. Bidders will be able to increase their bids until the auctioneer announces the tract is sold. Down payment, 10% down payment on the day of the auction. The down payment must be by personal check, business check, or cashier's check. Please just make arrangements with me if you need a day or so to transfer funds on that. We'll help you out with that. No issue there. Just let us know ahead of time. Bidders must have their financing arranged prior to the auction. No bids are conditional upon financing. Absentee and phone bids. All absentee and phone bidders must register with Dye Real Estate and Land Company prior to the auction. Anyone bidding on behalf of an absentee or phone bidder will be equally responsible for the bid and required to enter into a contract to purchase at the end of the auction. This is for people who do not talk to me about that ahead of time. There are some people who I understand will be doing that, and we will work through that with them. If any dispute arises between or among bidders, the decision of the auctioneer shall be final and absolute. Bid rigging. No person shall engage in bid rigging. Ohio Revised Code 4707151. As used in this section, bid rigging means a conspiracy between auctioneers, any participants in an auction, or any other persons who agree not to bid against each other at an auction or otherwise conspire to decrease or increase the number or amounts of bids offered at an auction. All online bidders must register prior to the day of the auction. The technology disclaimer is for online bidders only. I'm not going to read that out loud. Property inspections. Potential purchasers are responsible for conducting their own inspections of the property, and any due diligence, inquiries, and inspections will be conducted at their own risk. Seller and real estate company disclaims any and all responsibility for the bidder's safety during any physical inspections of the property. Any and all successful bidders will be required to enter into a purchase agreement with the seller immediately following the sale. The seller may be signing the contracts electronically. She will be. All final bids are subject to the seller's confirmation. This offer will remain irrevocable and available to the seller for 5 business days after delivery of this offer to the seller, its counsel, or agent. Evidence of title. Dye Real Estate and Land Company will provide a preliminary title opinion certificate or report to be made available upon request to prospective bidders prior to the auction. The certificate is given for the protection of Dye Real Estate and Land Company only. No other person or entity may rely on the opinion expressed herein, nor is any liability assumed by the certification except to. If any buyer elects to purchase title insurance, the cost of that title insurance will be at the buyer's sole expense. Seller will convey the title free and clear of liens, but otherwise subject to all easements and matters of record. All tracts are being sold as is. Seller will provide a general warranty deed. The balance of the purchase price will take place within 45 days after the auction. In the event the buyer fails to close and pay their balance when due, seller reserves all rights allowed by law, including a suit for damages, specific performance, or cancellation of the sale with the seller retain their earnest money deposit. Any action taken after default shall be solely at the seller's option, with all costs incurred by the seller being paid by the buyer. Possession. Possession will be immediately following a successful verification of the purchaser's earnest money deposit and once fully signed purchase agreement has been completed by both the buyer and the seller. I understand we're coming up on planning. I guess there was some planning and groundwork going on here today. It's been nice. So give me an earnest deposit. I make sure it's cleared. You sign a contract. You can go do your work on the farm immediately. Real estate taxes. All taxes and assessments shall be prorated to the day of closing. In prorating the taxes and assessments, the most current available tax information shall be used. The property is currently in CAUV. If the purchaser removes the property from CAUV, the purchaser will be responsible for the payment of any CAUV tax recoupment. New taxes may be established due to the creation of new parcels. All dimensions, proposed boundaries, and track acreages are approximate and are based on aerial photos and auditor information. The sale will include 100% of the mineral rights, if any, owned by the seller. CRP. This premises is currently subject to a USDA Conservation Reserve Program or other state and federal contract affecting the continued use management of the premises. Buyer acknowledges the existence of that state or federal contract relative to the use or management of the premises and agrees to accept any future contract payment and adhere to the terms of the contract for the remainder of the contract term, and to indemnify and save harmless the seller and Dye Real Estate and Land Company from any liability or breach of that contract. We have provided a copy of that contract. It's up there on the board in the back. This contract expires in 2030. It is on 0.78 acres. Right here, it's the waterway that runs right here. If you can see that in your bidder packet, that is 0.78 acres. It pays $116 a year. That ends in 2030. Survey. The seller will provide a new survey and legal description if required by governmental authority to transfer the title. If the governmental authority approves the legal description under its current form, then the buyer agrees to accept the current acreage described under the current legal description. The total sales price will be established by multiplying the per acre price established at the auction by the total acreage according to the new survey. There was a new survey completed on this at the end of last year. It is now 109.378 total acres. 109.378. That is the total acreage for tonight's sale. Dye Real Estate and Land Company and its representatives are sole agents for the seller. All information contained in this brochure and all related materials are subject to the terms and conditions in the purchase agreement. The properties are being sold as is, where is, with no warranty or representation, either expressed or implied, concerning the properties made by the seller or Dye Real Estate and Land Company. All sketches and dimensions in this brochure are approximate. Each potential bidder is responsible for conducting his or her own independent inspections, investigations, inquiries, and due diligence concerning the property. The information contained in this brochure is subject to verification by all parties relying on it. No liability for its accuracy, errors, or omissions is assumed by the seller or Dye Real Estate and Land Company. Any announcements made the day of the auction take precedence over printed material. The above terms and conditions are to be an addendum to the purchase contract. That is all for the terms and conditions. Tonight's farm consists of 109.378 total acres with approximately 106 tillable, with an NCCPI of 69.12. This farm is located in Bowling Green Township, Marion County. This does come with 2025 farming rights. We had discussed that. There's road frontage on Linwood Road that goes across the north side and down a little bit of the east side of the farm there. Moving on here in your bidder packet, the Consumer Guide to Agency Relationship. We're required to provide this to you if you do business with our company, so we provide it in our bidder packets. Agency disclosure statement. This just identifies that myself and Dye Real Estate and Land Company are sole representatives of the seller tonight. Lastly, you have 3 pages here, which is an example of the purchase agreement that you will be signing if you are the successful bidder at tonight's sale. The only thing missing in here is the buyer's name and the final purchase price. That is all. Also, before you guys take off, we do have an equipment auction, Tom Taylor retirement sale that's coming up here in Ostrander on Saturday. There's some information on the back board about that. If you guys are interested in any of that equipment or anything that we have going on there, please grab that, and we'd love to see you there on Saturday. Otherwise, I think we're ready to sell a farm. All right. Where do you want to start me? Got 109 acres in Marion County, Bowling Green Township. Look in, somebody get 14,000. Get 14 here now, 14. But get 14,000 here now, 14. Get 14. Get 13. Give 13,000 here now. 13 down here now. 12. Would give 12 no 12 no 12,000 dollar down here now. 12. Would give 12 no 12. 11 and run. Give 11,000 here now. 11,000 dollar down here now. 11. Give 11,000 here now. 11,000 here. Give 10 and go. Would give 10 now 10,000 dollar down here now. 10. Open me up. Give 10,000. Give 10,000 here now. 95. Would give 9,500 here now. I got 95 now. 10. Would give 10 now 10 now 10. 95's up front now. 10. I'm at 9,500 here now. 10. Would give 10 now 10 now 10,000 dollar down here now. 10 5. Would give 10 5. 10 5's on now. 11 down here now. 11. Would give 11 now 11 5. Would give 11 5. 11's on now. 11 5. Get 12 now 12,000 here now. 12 5. Would give 12 5. 12,000's on now. 12 5. Would give 12 5. 12,000's here now. 12 5. Would give 12 5. 12,000's on now. 12 5. Would give 12 5. But I'm at 12,000 here now. 12 5. Would give 12 2. Get 12 2. I got 12,000 here now. 2. Would give 12 2. 12,000's on now. $200 down here now. 12 2. But I'm at 12,000 here now. 2. Would give 12 2. 12,000's on now. 12 2. Would give 12 1. I got 1 now. 2. Would give 12 2. 12 1's on now. $200 down here now. 2 now. 3. Would give 12 3 now. 3 now. 4. Would give 12 4. 12 3's on now. 4 now. 5. Would give 12 5 now. $600 down here now. 7 now. 7 now. 700 here now. 8. 12 8 now. 9. Would give 12 9. 12 8's on now. 9. Would give 12 9 now. 13 down here now. 13 1. Would give 13 1. 13 1 now. 2. Would give 13 2. 13 1's on now. $200 down here now. Your turn. Look in right there now. 2 now. 3. Would give 13 3. 13 2's on now. $300 down here now. 3. Would give 3 no 3. I'm $300 down here now. 3. I'm bid 13 2. I need 13 3. 13,200 here now. 3. Would give 3. I'm 13 2. I need 3. I got 3 now. Whoa. Okay. I'm at 13,200. Mike's way. I need 13 3. 13 2's on. Give 13 3. We got a phone conversation going on here up front. I'm going to take a break, have a conversation with the seller. I'll be right back. All right, we do have seller's confirmation. Mike, I'm with you at 13,200. I need 13.3. If you're the final bidder tonight, you're buying this farm. We have seller's confirmation. 3, now 4. 13 threes on now, 400 order down here now, 5 it get 5 now, 5 now, 5 here now, 5 now, 600 here now, 13 6. You're out in the back, need 13 6. 13 5's on now, 600 order down here now, 13 6. But it get 13 600 order down here now, 13 6. 6 now 7. 13 6 now, 700 order down here now, 13 7. I'm bidding at 13 6 now, 7 now 7 now, 700 order down here now, 13 7. 600's on now, 700 order down here now, 7. I'm bidding at 13 6 now, 7 now 7 now, 700 order down here now, able to buy now, 13 7. 13 6 is in the back. I need 13 7. $13,700 is $1,498,478. I got 13,600s in the back. I need 13,700. $1,498,478. 13,600 is on. Give 13,700. 13,600. Anybody else want to bid? I'm at 13,600. Give 7. 600's on now. 7 now 7 now, 700 order down here now. Able to buy now. Hammer high. Got to fly. 13,600's in the back. I need 13,700. I got 13,600. Give 13,700. Last chance. Buyer gets to go home happy. Everybody else needs to go home satisfied. You had your chance. 13,600. Give 13,700. All in. All done. 13,600's here. Give 13,700. Sold to farm. $13,600 to buyer number 841. Thank you guys for coming out. Grab some extra food on the way out. I'm sick of pulled pork. We have it all the time, so please don't let me take any of that home. Also, if you are interested Saturday in the equipment sale that we have coming up, there's information in the back about that. We have another auction coming up in 2 weeks in Hardin County, 100 acres outside of Bell Center, between Bell Center and Mount Victory on 273. Thanks again for coming out. If you were the successful bidder, please stick around so I can have a conversation.